afternoon, everybody, and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios in Jackson, Mississippi, sharing our twice weekly news break show with you. 30-minute show twice a week, usually Wednesdays and Fridays now at 3 p.m. And had a little time change from noon. So, but you can certainly access this show at any time. If you can't catch the news break live, you can watch it on demand at your convenience through WeBelieveDigital.com or go through YouTube, We Believe Digital, Facebook, We Believe Digital Podcasts, and just scroll down till you see the Newsbreak show and watch at your convenience. So my name's Chris Young. We'll start out on the local level today talking about this water. Lots of stuff going on with the water, of course, still in Jackson. There were some outages as a result of this recent storm that we had. But as of just a couple hours ago, it looked like the numbers were down to 1,000 customers throughout South and West Jackson. Remember, those are the locations that are farthest away from the two plants. In previously identified zip codes, still do not have water. There's 14 crews out repairing large leaks throughout the system. They'll continue to work throughout the weekend. They found approximately 85 large leaks been reported. New leaks continue to be reported as the ground continues to thaw out. So these guys are hard at work trying to fix this. At the same time that's going on, there's a sort of a misinformation campaign going on to try to make things look much worse than they really are. Not sure what the impetus for that is, who's behind that. I know Jackson Water, the company Jackson Water, headed by Ted Henifin, the federally appointed third-party manager now for water and sewer, is actually turned to law enforcement to ask them to investigate where all this misinformation is coming from. So, you know, when you think about how far we've come since where we were last year at this time, it's truly amazing. So much progress has been made. I mean, you just can't flip a switch and have it all be okay instantly. But there's a lot of movement going on here, and so just want to let you know that. And they didn't have an estimated repair time when everything's going to be done. But again, 14 crews out there fixing these leaks. One thing they did say is the rest of the city, if the rest of the city did reduce its overall water usage, that would very much help the process. So if you're able to do that, please do. Another story on the local level, this trash contract. You know, the emergency contract with Richards Disposal ends on March 31st. And so the mayor put forward a new RFP, and two people responded to that, Richards and National Waste Collection. And so those bids are apparently those bids are in and being evaluated now. And as early as the next council meeting, or maybe the first council meeting in February, either way, they're going to be able to present the bids to the council, and hoping we get a decision on that. So WLBT wrote about this, and let me share with you what they said. On Thursday, Solid Waste Manager Lakeisha Weathers said the administration would likely bring forward a recommendation on a long-term hauling contract by the council's next meeting, or, as I said previously, the first one in February. The news comes as the city's current contract with Richards winds down. It also comes as council members continue to raise concern as to whether there's enough time to get a contractor in place and mobilized before the Richards agreement sunsets. So again, that's due to happen on March 31st. And if the new contract is not in place, residents again will not have curbside collection. So that's from, Anthony Warren at WLBT. And, there's a process that they have to go through with presenting the bids to council. Council's got a ample opportunity here to do the right thing. You know, they never did that the last time. It cost our city dearly. Finally, at the 11th hour, Aaron Banks switched his longtime opposition to Richards and changed his vote so that garbage could be collected. Now, 18 days, the garbage sat on the streets, but then he finally, acquiesced at the last minute and let this company pick up our trash that had already been doing so for a year and doing a terrific job overall. So, wish we didn't have to talk about these subjects in Jackson, but we surely do. So in the state of Mississippi, you know, today's just another day where there's no hearings being held about this TANF contract and upwards of $97 million that was misappropriated, stolen, misspent, pilfered, whichever use you choose, by Republican governors and their appointees. Now, yesterday, they went ahead with having a special session inside the session at the legislature to give the governor $350 million for another one of his special projects called the Economic Investment. And but you know they don't want to know. They don't want to know about what happened with that $97 million. There is a legal process going on, but the idea that the legislators in this state that appropriate all the funds being used don't want to have their own hearings to look into that, I mean, ask yourself why that is. What's up with that? You know there's a reason why they're not interested in doing that. Another story, just a report came out yesterday that the Mississippi poultry plant's failure to follow the safety protocols led to the death of a 16-year-old worker who was pulled into a machine. That's what the federal regulators said. I'm sorry, not yesterday, but Tuesday. U.S. Department of Labor, OSHA administration, found numerous safety violations in its investigation of the July workplace accident that caused the death of Devon Perez, a Guatemalan teenager and contract worker at the Mar-Jac poultry plant in Hattiesburg. Mar-Jac Poultry is aware of how dangerous the machinery they can use when safety standards are not in place to prevent serious injury, said Kurt Petermeyer, a regional administrator for OSHA. The company's inaction has directly led to this terrible tragedy, which has left so many to mourn this child's preventable death. After the accident, Labor Department officials said Perez's death offered a reminder that children remain invulnerable to exploitation in the U.S. workplace. So, didn't say how much the fines are going to be. There's going to be a lot of fines coming with that, no doubt. I believe that company is a company that supplies Chick-fil-A. And as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, Mississippi, this comes from the Associated Press in Jackson. Mississippi lawmakers on Thursday gave broad bipartisan approval to state incentives for a factory that will manufacture electric vehicle batteries, a project that promises 2,000 jobs with an average salary of about $66,000. The legislators voted. After they voted, the governor finally provided the names after the vote of the four companies involved: Accelera by Cummins, Daimler Truck, and PACCAR, which manufacture big trucks, will each own 30% of the project. A China-based lithium battery maker, EVE Energy Company Limited, will own 10%. The companies intend to invest about $1.9 billion for the plant in Marshall County, near the Tennessee state line. And it would be the second largest corporate investment in Mississippi history. So, you know, the governor's going goo-goo gaga over that, and the taxpayers are footing the bill. I mean, do you think that the inside out of that agreement called Project Poppy. Do you think that that was provided to the lawmakers even a day ahead of time? 3 days ahead of time? A week ahead of time so they could study what they're looking into? No. And in the end, a lot of the Democrats just went along with it. Only 2 people voted against the whole thing. One of them, a Republican representative from DeSoto County, northwestern Mississippi. His name is Dan Eubanks. A Republican ended up voting against this. Shocking. Also, yesterday over at the Capitol, State Health Officer Daniel Edney shared some news. He said Mississippi has improved some of its poor health outcomes, but its people are more likely to die unnecessarily than residents in any other state. So he's saying there's been some improvements, but we're still 50th, still last in susceptibility to dying prematurely. He urged legislators who just began the year's session to work with health officials to improve Mississippi's status as the nation's unhealthiest state, ranking at the bottom of virtually every health care indicator and at the top of every health disparity. Quote, if we choose the right policies for our people, we will see us move off the radar of having the highest rate of preventable death. Highest rate of preventable death. Ed, that's the health director, said at a news conference inside the Mississippi Capitol yesterday. So I think we're just about at the halfway mark, so we'll go ahead and dip out for a couple of commercials here in a second. And then when we come back in with you, we'll jump into the U.S. news and then a couple of global news stories and remind you of this football that we got coming up on this weekend. So we'll be right back with you.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippi.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to the news break. Glad you're with us. Just moving into our second segment. This cold weather, my goodness, the week-long Arctic cold that's blanketed much of the nation has taken more than 50 lives, just a direct result of the cold weather. As 95 million people in the United States are under winter weather warnings on Friday. We experienced it a lot in Mississippi earlier this week, and it looked like it's coming back again now. And these next few nights here in Jackson are going to be below freezing. Freeze alerts were issued overnight across a swath of the South, from Texas to Florida, where 15 million Americans shivered under their blankets. Temperatures Friday night, that'd be tonight, and early Saturday in traditional spots, such as traditional hotspots, such as Shreveport, Jackson, Birmingham, and Atlanta, are set to dip into the low 20s or teens. That's for tonight. And pretty much same thing tomorrow night. And then it looks like the low is predicted to be 32 degrees on Sunday night. So we'll see how that works out. I had a story from the 9/11 from the Twin Towers. 9/11 victims' remains were identified. Another set of remains has been identified through advanced DNA analysis. A guy named John Ballantyne Niven, 44 years old, was working on the 105th floor of the tower. The 1,650th victim identified from the deadliest attack of terrorism on American soil when hijackers crashed planes into the Twin Towers, killing 2,753 people. And again, out of 2,753, 1,650 have now been fully identified. Law enforcement officers responded so poorly to the 2022 shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, that the federal government took the extraordinary step, of conducting an investigation into what went wrong. Normally they leave that for other folks, but in this, for a hazard like that at a school, but in this case, the Department of Justice issued a 600-page report released yesterday, has not led to criminal charges or even firing. The imprimatur of the nation's top law enforcement agency reaffirming the severe shortcomings of the local agencies that responded carried weight in the eyes of the heavily Latino working class community and the nation. They speak about some of the specifics. Poor coordination, training, and execution of active shooter protocol contributed to failure in law enforcement response. Police officers were erroneously taught that an active shooter event can easily morph into a hostage crisis. A lack of leadership led to a failure to recognize an active shooter situation and waiting too long to engage the gunman. At least 6 separate instances of gunfire, as well as officer injuries and the presence of victims, should have prompted officers to take steps immediately to stop the killing. Some families received incorrect information about whether their loved ones survived, and others were notified of deaths by personnel not trained on how to deliver such traumatic news. The Justice Department seldom, if ever, conducts a critical incident review of a school shooting. But what happened in Uvalde was so egregious, this type of rigorous review needed to be done, according to Jillian Snyder, a former New York City police officer and adjunct lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. She said the results could have implications for school districts across the country and for police departments across the country, because it outlines recommendation and best practices for responding to mass shootings. In the end, the Justice Department found what other state investigators had already discovered. No one assumed command of the situation after the gunman entered the school and began indiscriminately shooting at students and teachers. A total of 21 people were killed at that elementary school. 21 people. That was on May 24th, 2022. 19 children, including 19 children. So 19 children and 2 adults killed, and 17 others were injured. Uvalde, Texas, May 24th, 2022. Law enforcement didn't have a clue. They weren't trained. They didn't know what they were doing. People died as a result. According to the AP, taking a daily multivitamin may protect against memory loss in older adults, according to a trio of studies that included more than 5,000 participants. Taken together, these 3 studies found, compared to a placebo, taking a daily multivitamin slowed cognitive aging by about 2 years, according to a Dr. Vyas, an instructor in investigation at Massachusetts General Hospital. Research was part of the Cosmos trial, a much larger clinical trial that explored whether a daily multivitamin, and they looked in this case at Centrum Silver, a cocoa extract supplement, or both could be protective against heart disease and cancer. In 573 adults, took either a multivitamin or a placebo every day for 2 years. Their cognitive functioning in those persons, and with a series of tests at the beginning and the end of the study, is how they end up getting their results. Pfizer, the company that makes Centrum Silver, provided the multivitamins and placebo pills used in the study. Mars Incorporated, the candy maker, partially funded the larger trial. Neither company had any role in the designing of the trial. So if you're getting up there like me, you need to take a daily multivitamin, which I do. So I'm hoping that can help with this cognitive aging process. Next to last story on the national level, Massachusetts man convicted of murder in the 2021 death of a black man after a racist road rage encounter was sentenced Wednesday, 2 days ago, to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Dean Kapsalis of Hudson, Massachusetts, was convicted by a jury last year of second-degree murder, violation of constitutional rights, and other offenses in the killing of Henry Tapia. Kapsalis and Tapia got into an argument on January 19th, 2021. So that's the way that went down. Road rage, racist road rage. Okay, now I got some NFL this weekend. It looks like everything's going to be available on ESPN and or ABC. So Saturday, tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern Time, so 3:30 our time, Houston, Texas. That's number 4 seeded Houston Texans at the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. That's at 3:30 Central Time tomorrow. Then at 8:15 or 7:15 our time tomorrow night, Green Bay is playing at San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be on Fox. On Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time, Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be at Detroit Lions. That's going to be on NBC. And then the big game a lot of people seem to be looking forward to, the AFC divisional game. Number 3, Kansas City at number 2, Buffalo Bills. That looked like that's going to be on CBS, and that's at 5:30 our time, Central Time, on Saturday. Just a couple more stories. Go back to the What We Know section on NBC News about this Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he told the United States that he rejects the idea of a Palestinian state being created after the war in Gaza. A public stand at odds with his country's biggest ally, the United States. The Biden administration indicated it would keep pushing on the issue as Washington and Middle Eastern powers work on a plan to end the conflict. U.S. diplomacy has also focused on preventing a broader regional escalation, but President Joe Biden conceded that continued strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen has yet to deter the Iran-backed militants from targeting shipping in the Red Sea. The Houthis launched a new missile strike at a U.S.-owned tanker last night, a third such attack in 3 days, after another round of preemptive U.S. strikes. The Israeli military has indicated to NBC News that it conducted search and rescue operations, including for bodies of dead hostages in a cemetery in Gaza. Okay. So far, more than 24,700 have been killed in Gaza since the war began, including more than 10,000 children. Almost 50% of those deaths were children. More than 62,000 injured, according to the Palestinian health authorities. And about 1,200 people killed in Israel when this attack by Hamas took place, a multi-pronged attack that took place on October 7th, over 100 days ago. Japan staked a claim among national space powers today as its SLIM spacecraft reached the lunar surface. The country's SLIM lander launched in September and touched down on the lunar surface about 10:20 Eastern Time this morning, according to telemetry readings by the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA. Engineers were checking the status of the spacecraft shortly after its landing. The feat makes Japan the fifth country to land on the moon, following Russia, the U.S., China, and India. Last year, it was India that joined the list, and now we have Japan joining the list. The SLIM stands for Smart Lander for Investigating Moon. Is a cargo research mission that carries varieties of scientific payloads like all the other ones do, including an analysis camera and a pair of lunar rovers. So that's all the stories from us today from We Believe Digital News, and we thank you so much for joining us. Have a safe weekend out there. Stay warm. Better drip those pipes for another, at least again tonight and tomorrow night for sure. And we'll see you back here Wednesday at 3 p.m. Take good care.